Welcome back to Naptime Sports Talk Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to our latest episode. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to Naptime Sports Talk Podcast. Today, joining me, I have the one and only DC Clement. DC, welcome back to the podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So we are shooting this episode fresh off the Super Bowl. It is Monday, February 10th. So it's still fresh in my mind. And Big D, DC, defense still wins championships.
Yes, they do.
In the offensive league, the defense prevailed. So, man, I was super impressed with Philadelphia's defense right off the get-go. Just relentless pass rush, and the fact that they didn't send one blitz the whole game and they were getting home with a 4-man rush just blew my mind. I didn't know that stat until after the game. I realized that was true, that they did not send any blitzes in. They were just getting home with their relentless 4-man rush. So those guys bullied Kansas City's offensive line single-handedly the whole game. You know, they played zone coverage pretty much the whole game. Put Mahomes in some uncomfortable positions, made a couple bad throws, a couple picks. And overall, they just set the tone right from the get-go, just the physicalness of their defensive front and just everyone in the back end playing extremely well to tight coverage and playing their zones very effectively as well. So I was kind of a little nervous from the get-go, though, after Philly had that dumb call on them where they said A.J. Brown pushed off, which he did not. He just extended the arm, didn't even push at all. That's what we see every single Sunday, every single NFL game, guys do that. So the fact that they threw the flag on that one was really disappointing right off the get-go, and I'm so glad that the refs did not make the difference in this game. Philly came out and they just pounded them right from the get-go, and their defense put them in really extremely great positions to score, and they capitalized on some of those turnovers as well. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, I think Philly had probably the best game they had all year. Put a lot of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes couldn't do really nothing back there. He was very uncomfortable back there, making really bad throws. I think he got picked off like 3 times. One was pick 6, Cooper to Gene exactly on his birthday. And Jalen Hurts looked really good. I just wish they gave the ball to Shaquan Barkley a little bit, but they actually, I think they covered him pretty dang good for the game, because I think he had like maybe 50 yards rushing on like 18 carries or something like that. But Jalen Hurts was probably the best player.
Barkley had 25 carries for 57 yards rushing. So they were pretty much saying from the get-go they're not going to let Saquon Barkley beat them. And Jalen Hurts stepped up. He had 11 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown. He was 17 of 22 for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. The one he threw down deep in the field, he kind of got guy kind of stepped up or came up the middle. He kind of stepped up in the pocket, didn't see him coming. But yeah, go back to Patrick Mahomes. He definitely looked very flustered, and he ended up throwing 2 picks, and he did have 3 turnovers. The one was the fumble, so he just got smacked on that play. But just looking over at the team stats, this was like something that that jumped out at me. Kansas City was only 3 of 11 on third down, so that's just not gonna be effective at all. And Philly actually was third on third down. They were only 3 and 12, so they only converted 3 out of 12 third down conversions there. So their defense really set the tone for them, put them in some good positions. Obviously, they had some good, that deep ball to Devontae Smith there when they could have just ate the clock more. I like that aggressiveness. They just kept it going, and I was really overall impressed with them. Kansas City had they ended up scoring 22 points, but 2 of those touchdowns were kind of in garbage time. I would say that didn't really matter. But yeah, you go look at the time of possession too. Philly was at 36 minutes and 58 seconds, and Kansas City was only at 23 minutes and 2 seconds. So they just set the tone from the get go. They had long sustained drives too, and overall they outplayed them the whole game. So I was happy with that. I was hoping we'd see Philly win. Just didn't want to see Kansas City do the three-peat, and I just thought it was kind of a little arrogant of them to try to get the tagline of three-peat before the game even freaking happened. So I'm glad that they ended up eating their words a little bit because I think they came in a little too cocky myself.
Yeah, totally. And then I think the best player for Kansas City was Worley, rookie. He had 8 catches for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was the best player on Kansas City last night.
Yeah, for sure. He had that deep ball was really nice. Last touchdown they had, and he beat two guys, and he had a really nice catch there in the end zone. So yeah, he was looking good. A lot of those yardage came on that deep ball, but overall, Philly just outplayed them. And man, just talk about Philadelphia. I was feeling that they would win the game. I didn't think they'd be going out there and beating them by 18 points. I thought maybe potentially a couple touchdowns just based on how they've been playing lately. But the thing is, like, you look at their roster and they don't have a lot of holes on their roster. Defensive side of the ball, offensive side of the ball, they're pretty stout. And I think Philly's gonna be pretty damn good next year too. And man, it's just crazy to me because so many times you see teams in the draft kind of overlook players and maybe think twice about someone. And Philly usually gets that player and drafts that player. We've seen that with Cooper DeJean here. He dropped in the second round. In past, they had N'Kobe Dean, who friggin' fell in the draft, which was crazy. Philly's they're not afraid to go get their guy. They have really good scouting, and it just seems like, man, they hit on all their first and second round picks continuously. And just looking at the Vikings, that's one thing I think we need to do better is we need to build better in the draft. Obviously, this year we do not have the draft capital as we have had in the past. We have 4 picks right now, 1 in the first round, and then I think we might get a third round comp pick. But other than that, it's just like we don't have a lot of picks in the top, 100, 150, which usually you want to try to stockpile in in that range, because you can really get some difference makers in the draft in that position in the first round, the second round, the third round. So give it off to Philly. They probably have to be one of the best scouted teams or one of the best draft scouts in the NFL. I'd say Howie Roseman just seems like he just knocks it out of the park every year in the draft too. So just it's impressive, and definitely how they did it is it's hard to replicate because I don't think too many other teams have had the same successes as they have in the draft, especially the Vikings in the draft. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And everybody said that Detroit it was probably the best team in NFL all year. They were, but I think Philly was probably the best team in the whole NFL all year long, like that, instead of
Well,
Detroit.
they were the
And
best team. They just won the Super Bowl. So
yeah,
continue.
yeah, what they're doing over in Philly is just unreal, and everything. So it's nice to see an NFC team win the Super Bowl and not have Chiefs win a three-peat. But yeah, just getting ready for the offseason and see what goes forward with that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just super excited for the off season coming up, and just trying to look at the Philadelphia's old picks here, who they drafted in the last year's round. So I'm just gonna go read some of these, okay? So last year's class at the first round, they drafted Quinion Mitchell, who was just an outstanding cornerback this season. Did really, really well. Got Cooper DeJean in the second round, which is just at pick number 40, which is just crazy to me. Like, he should not belong in the second round. And the fact that he fell in the draft last year was nuts. And then Jalix Hunt, he was a guy that kind of came out of FCS school, a small school. He had some really good upside, some good traits and measurables in the scouting combine last year. They took a shot at him in the third round last year, 94th pick, and he made a difference yesterday's game. He ended up getting a sack for them too. So you go back to the 2023 draft here. I think that was the year they drafted Jalen Carter in the first round, but let me double check. But let's see. Yep. So ninth pick, they drafted Carter. Same thing, Nolan Smith, you know, fell into the first round and they took him at 30. So just another guy that they've shown with these top two picks have hit on, in past back to back classes. You go back to the 2022 draft here, and I think that's when they maybe took Jordan Davis out of Georgia. Let me double check here. Yeah, Jordan Davis, Cameron Jurgens in the second round is a starting center, Kobe Dean. So yeah, they just drafted extremely well, especially in those first 2 to 3 rounds, and they keep hitting on those players. So that's the biggest difference I say for Philadelphia. And then the cherry on top of it all is going on against Saquon Barkley to add to that team. I thought that took another level to their whole team, added more physicality and the ability to run and play stout defense. So they've built it right, man, and it just shows like good pass rush. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Good pass rush can get to these top level quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the NFL. Look what happened to him yesterday. So
Yeah, he didn't play the best quarterback in NFL. Jalen Hurts looked like the best quarterback in the NFL last night.
yeah, but if you go to, you'd be crazy not to say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. So Jalen Hurts had his definitely a top quarterback, but if I'm still picking, I think Patrick Mahomes is definitely the best. And you know, there's only so much he can do. His offense line got beat up really, really bad. We've seen that with other quarterbacks too in the past. Look at Tom Brady in those Super Bowls when the Eagles won their first Super Bowl here in Minnesota. How did they win it? They won it by shutting Brady down. They won it by getting after him pass rush. You go back to Tampa Bay when they beat the Chiefs in their first Super Bowl loss. How did they get it done? Got it done with the pass rush. You go way back to when New England played the New York Giants, the undefeated season. How did they get it done? With a pass rush. So I just feel like that's a consistent thing for winning the Super Bowl is you have to be creating good pressure on these quarterbacks, putting them in uncomfortable positions. Obviously, other things have happened in those games that you can go back and pinpoint here and there, but overall, the main scheme of it or main idea of it is that defense wins championships, and it's showing, and it's still showing, and even in an offensive league. So, moving on to my next topic, just going back to what I would like to see. I talked about in my last episode, but what I would like to see the Vikes do this offseason, I keep saying it over and over again. I'll keep pounding my hand on the table for it. We got to build the trenches. I mean, you look at yesterday, we got to build that front four, especially in the interior of the defensive line. We need more pressure in the interior. Offense or on the outsides, we're doing pretty dang good with Van Ginkel and Grenard and
Yeah,
Dallas Turner,
absolutely.
who's developing. Hopefully, we get more out of him next year. But the main thing is creating pressure in the middle. Those guys can collapse the pocket, but if we don't have that pressure up the middle, it's not going to matter because quarterback's just going to step up in the pocket. But we need to get a guy there to disrupt the middle of the interior of the offensive line. And just on our interior offensive line, we need to add to that. We need to get better at the guards. We need to get better at the center position. We're pretty stout on tackles with Darrison O'Neal going forward. But, the interior of the offensive line is a position that has been kind of something the last 4 or 5 years we're kind of struggled at, and we've always maybe thrown pieces at the dartboard and we don't always hit on it. So this is a continuous thing that we've seen for the future of the Vikings is that weak point offense line is usually in the middle, and we need to fix that and get that addressed. Because if we want to move forward, it's going to start in the trenches. That's what I always think. Building a Super Bowl team, you need to start at the trenches. You need to build the lines first, and then you get the quarterback, and then you have your skill positions in the back end on the defense and second level linebackers. But I think Super Bowls are won on the offensive line and the defensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You gotta build in the trenches and just move forward on with that.
It'd be nice to get a guy like Trey Smith at guard, who's going to be probably getting a big contract here coming from Kansas City. So I'd like to see that happen. for us, and then we'll see what happens. But we'll get into more conversation on that after once the offseason really gets rolling here. So, big deal. Before we move on to our next topic, what would you like to see the Vikes do this offseason?
Oh, number one, build the trenches. Work on that. Then, maybe work on a little bit on their secondary because we don't know what's going on with Harrison Smith or anything. If he's going to return for another year or he's going to retire in the off season.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, that's pretty much it. I think just the trenches and maybe get a secondary guy or something.
Yeah, I agree. My number one, like I said, is the interior, the D line, interior, the O line. Number two would be let's get a running back that can complement a finesse guy. Let's get a power back where we can pound it up the middle for some tough yardage, wear the defense out. We saw it this year where we kind of teetered during or in the red zone in the goal line. And I'm hoping that we can figure that out and get a guy that can be little more power, a little more complementary to a finesse guy. And I agree with you completely. We need to fix that secondary. We don't know if Gilmore's coming back. We don't know if Griffin's coming back, Harrison Smith. Cam Bynum's up for free agency. So we just don't know. But yeah, I think that's definitely another thing we need to look at is building our secondary on the defense for sure.
And we just have to see what we have to do for free agent too, because we do have $72 million to work with this year.
Yeah,
so
we roughly have 70 plus million.
So we just have to see what we do with free agent and then move on from that.
For sure. All right, so before I move on to some key off-season dates, I just want to do a quick simulation with you, okay? I'm going to read off. I already went over these guys in my last episode, so listen if you want to hear my take on it, but I'm going to leave my opinion out of this. DC, I'm going to read these guys. You're going to tell me if they're going to be back in purple or not, okay? So these are unrestricted free agents who are going to be upcoming free agents when the new league year starts.
All right.
So, you ready? Just give me a simple yes or no. If you want to go into further detail of why, you can, but you don't have to. So, Cam Akers, do you think he's going to be back?
Nope.
Okay. Cameron Bynum.
I think he will be.
Okay. Jonathan Bullard, defense tackle.
I'm going to say yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he had a good season, I thought. You could see that.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold.
See, that's a tough one right there.
Here's my question. Okay, and I haven't researched this too much, and I'm not sure what a cap hit could be if we did this. Like how much money we would lose out on. But basically, I'm thinking like, what if we franchise tagged him since the quarterback class is not the best this year in the draft, and the free agent class is not the best in the free agency? What if we did a franchise tag on him and tried to trade him? I don't know what the cap hit would be. I think it would be like $50 million, but I don't know what the dead cap is going to be for trading him because we'll have to take on some dead cap. But we could potentially get like a second round pick or something, if not like a couple more picks. I don't think we'd get a first round pick, but a second, I think that could be a potential thing.
Yeah, yeah, well, let's go. Let's who will we stay in? Yes.
Okay. So you think he's going to stay with like a possibility of maybe trading him somewhere?
Yeah, trade,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. I can't wait to see what happens, if we just let him walk to free agency. But if it's possible, if we can do the franchise tag on him, if it's not going to create such a dead cap hit, I feel like let's do it so we can maybe trade him, gets a couple more picks.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, the next guy, Stephon Gilmore.
I think he's going to retire.
Okay. Shaq Griffin.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Camus Grugier-Hill, he stepped up when he needed to come in there when Pace was out for linebacker. He's a good little depth guy we had last year, this past season.
Yeah, I think he will stay.
Okay. Aaron Jones.
See, that's another tough one. I would like to keep Aaron Jones for another year or two because he is getting up there.
Yeah.
But there are pretty deep and running
Mm-hmm.
backs for the draft this
For
year.
sure.
Um, let's go with let's keep. Well, I'm gonna say let's keep them.
Okay. Here's my thought on him real quick. He just has to stay healthy. He still has a good burst and good potential or good talent. And he does well when he's out there, but man, he just has to stay on the damn field. That's the biggest thing. So if we could bring him back for less money that he was coming at this year based on, his injury concerns, I'd like to have him back maybe on a cheaper deal. But if we're going to give him 10 plus million, I think we gave him like 10 million last year. Don't quote me on that, but if we're gonna give
Mm-hmm.
him something like that, I don't know about that. I'm kind of hesitant to do that. I'd rather see like a guy like Cam Akers and pair him up with someone else, maybe in this draft. Um, but it'll be interesting to see. Aaron Jones definitely a cool running back. So, all right, next guy, Daniel Jones.
Phew. So if we're gonna franchise tag Donald, I think we're gonna let go DJ go.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Um, I definitely think that he could potentially be like a bridge quarterback for someone maybe looking for their next quarterback. So there's a lot of quarterback needy teams. There's not a lot of quarterbacks out there. So
Yeah.
that's a possibility. He could get some, not going to say he's going to get a huge contract or nothing like that, but he could maybe potentially get some more playing time than he would here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be cool to see him stay here. If Sam Darnold walks, keep Daniel Jones here as a backup, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
sign him for cheap if he can do that. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. So Patrick Jones, the second who actually got injured here at the end of the year. What do you think?
I think we're gonna keep him.
Okay.
I think he had a pretty decent. I think he had a pretty decent year for us.
Yeah, I did too. I thought he was a good rotational guy for us for sure. Um,
Yeah.
Brandon Powell.
No, we're gonna. I think we're gonna let him go.
Okay. David Quisenberry, who came in, he played some offense tackle, and Adarsaw went down, and when O'Neal would go down, he would step in there. I thought he did pretty good as a backup.
Yeah. We'll keep him.
Okay. Dalton Reisner.
See, I like this guy. I really do,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a heck of a guard. I think we're I think we're gonna keep him.
Yeah, I do like Reisner too. I think he lacks like a little bit in he's not like an overall like he's just good at like I would say more like run blocking and stuff. But he's kind of struggles in pass protection a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that he would be a good guy to try to sign and create a good competition at the guard position for sure. So next up on the list, Cam Robinson at offensive tackle.
I think we're gonna keep him too
Okay.
for a backup if
Yeah.
their sub goes down. Like knock on wood, hopefully doesn't. But
The only thing I wonder with him is if like he would get more money to maybe potentially start somewhere. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what
hmm
happens. Jerry Tillery.
I think we're gonna let him go.
Okay. Byron Murphy.
I think we're gonna keep. I think we're gonna extend him.
I think I gotta
I think
bring him back.
he had a heck of a year this year.
Yeah, I did Pro Bowler too. So I didn't go over every single guy on the list, but I kind of went over like more of the important guys that were who's seen a lot more playing time. So, but yeah, last question: do you think Harrison Smith comes back?
I think he is. Really think he is. I think he got one more year.
I also saw if he does come back, his contract's like $5 million.
And I don't think he really cares about the money because he took a pay cut. Like what's a he only took like one pay cut, right?
Yeah, I don't. It's like it'll be around like between 5 and 6, I think it was, which would be nice because I think he still has some get up or some juice left in his tank.
He, I don't think he really cares. I really don't think he cares about the money. He just wants to
Yeah,
play.
he probably just wants to win, and it'd be cool to see him finish out his career here. But if he wants to go elsewhere, like, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he will. I think he'll try to finish out his career or with the Vikings, or he will retire.
Yeah, I think he wants to be a Viking forever. He loves it
Yeah, I
here.
agree for sure. All right, well, just moving on to our next topic. So I'm just gonna go over some key off-season dates coming up. Um, so right on February 18th, coming up here next week, is when teams can start to put franchise tags or transition tags on players, and that will end on March 4th. So they have that time period to figure out if they want to franchise tag a guy or put a transition tag on a guy. The next key date is coming up is February 24th to March 3rd, and that is NFL Scouting Combine Week at Lucas Oil Stadium. So I'm really excited about that as a draft nerd myself. Super excited to see these guys on the field, to see the movement without or moving around without pads. You know, you really get to see, especially like the corners and the wide receivers, you get to see, how fluid they are and all that. And we'll see what happens. I don't think someone will break Xavier Worthy's record from last year, but hey, we'll see. We'll see. There's always one guy that can kind of fly and puts a puts that record on test. So be looking out for that. Um, then on March 10th is when I believe players can start negotiating with teams, kind of like that period before free agency starts, can go and just kind of start making deals, but not officially signing nothing yet until the new year happens, and then that new year will be starting on March 12th at 3 p.m. Central Time. And then after that, we have the NFL draft, and that will be April 24th through April 26th in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So looking forward to some off-season dates coming up, starting with the count or combine, free agency. I'm really excited to see what we do in free agency, especially with all the money we have. And then the draft is a cherry on top to end it all.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this whole offseason thing, the combine, see what the Vikings will do in the offseason. So I am really stoked about this coming up here really soon.
No doubt, no doubt, me too. So, well, yeah, that's gonna wrap up the episode for today. Thank you for joining us. Uh, be tuning in to future episodes here. We'll be talking, some free agency stuff before the free agency period starts. We'll be talking about some of the NFL scouting combine. We'll be going in the draft. Also, some mock drafts upcoming too, just to get some names out there for you all to listen to or to look out for and to watch for. So, thank you for listening, and we hope you all are staying healthy, and we'll catch you next time. Skol Vikes.
Let's go Vikes.
Thank you for listening to our episode. Be sure to give us a follow on Instagram and X at Naptime Sports Talk Podcast for content related to the pod. Thank you for the support.